was only the third year of the Buddha's ministry, he already had more than 1,200 monastic disciples. Among the monks traveling with the Buddha was the Venerable Shariputra. Shariputra had already been a well-known spiritual teacher before he became a student of the Buddha. When Shariputra became a disciple of the Buddha, all his younger Dharma brothers and students joined him. The Buddha accepted Anathapindika's invitation to go to Shravasti, which was the capital city of the kingdom of Koshala. Anathapindika went ahead to prepare for the Buddha's visit. He needed a monk to accompany him home to help. The Buddha asked the Venerable Shariputra, who was very talented in building community, to go with him. Shariputra and Anathapindika, one monk and one layperson, soon became very close friends. Some people think that only monastics can be close to monastics and that only lay people can be close to lay people, but this is not so. If both monastics and lay people are motivated by a deep desire to practice the mindfulness trainings and to look deeply, they can be very intimate friends, co-workers, and co-practitioners. There is no discrimination. A monk can be a good monk, a layperson can be a good layperson, and they can also be close friends. Anathapindika wanted to offer the Buddha a piece of property on which to build a monastery in Koshala. After looking extensively, he felt there was only one place beautiful enough. It was a lovely park belonging to a member of the royal family of Koshala, the Prince Jeta. Since Anathapindika was very wealthy, he thought he could convince the prince to sell him this property. The prince had planted many beautiful trees on the property, so it was much more than a piece of land. It was like a paradise. When Anathapindika came to the prince and asked to buy the land, the prince refused. Anathapindika offered him more money, and still the prince refused. In the end, Anathapindika said, "How much do you want for it? I am ready to pay any amount." The prince replied, "If you can cover all the land with gold leaf, then I will sell it to you." When the prince said this, he was actually joking. He never believed that Anathapindika would accept his proposal, but he did. Anathapindika soon brought enough gold leaf to cover the whole area of land. The prince still did not want to sell it, but his advisers said, "You must sell it. You are a prince of the royal family. You've already given your word, and you cannot break it." Prince Jeta found it difficult to understand that a spiritual teacher could be so extraordinary and that Anathapindika could respect and love him so much that he would pay such a huge sum to buy a piece of land as a gift. People told the prince that the Buddha, who was still a young teacher, was fully awakened and that his teachings and his compassion were beyond compare. Seeing the great faith and admiration of Anathapindika, Prince Jeta stopped him just before he had covered all of the land and said, "You've given me so much gold already. That's enough. I want to offer to the Buddha the trees I have planted on the land as a gift from myself to the Buddha." That is why the place is called the Anathapindika Jeta Grove. It was land purchased and given to the Buddha by Anathapindika, but the trees were given by Prince Jeta. The Buddha loved this park very much and spent 20 consecutive annual rainy season retreats there. You can visit the park still and see the archaeological remains of ancient Buddhist monasteries. All during the years following his meeting with the Buddha, Anathapindika continued his work helping the poor and supporting the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. He was the Buddha's good friend, as was the king of Koshala. Anathapindika had a lovely family, and his wife and 2 children also became students of the Buddha. The entire family came every week to the Jeta Grove to hear Dharma talks and enjoy the practice of mindfulness. Often Anathapindika would bring fellow businessmen to meet the Buddha and receive his teachings. On one famous occasion, he brought more than 500 businessmen to the Jeta Grove where the Buddha gave a Dharma talk on practice of mindfulness for lay people. Most of the friends of Anathapindika accepted the 5 mindfulness trainings. Throughout his life, Anathapindika took a great deal of pleasure and happiness in supporting the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Although throughout his life he experienced many successes, There were also many difficult moments in his life. One time he lost his entire fortune, but with the help of his employees and friends he was able to rebuild his business and his wealth. 35 years after his first meeting with the Buddha, he fell very ill. Hearing of his sickness, the Buddha came to visit him and urged him to practice mindful breathing while lying in bed. Then the Buddha charged the Venerable Shariputra with taking good care of his old friend. The Buddha asked Shariputra to remain in Kosala with Anathapindika and to help him die peacefully. When Shariputra learned that Anathapindika was fast approaching death, he asked his younger brother in the Dharma, the Venerable Ananda, to go with him to see his old friend. Ananda was a cousin of the Buddha and had memorized all of the Buddha's Dharma talks. He is one of the main reasons we have the teachings of the Buddha today. After finishing their daily alms round, the two of them went to the house of Anathapindika. When the two monks arrived, Anathapindika, who needed them very much in this difficult moment, was happy to see them. He tried his best to sit up and greet them in a proper manner, but he could not, because he was so weak. Shariputra said to him, "My dear friend, don't try to sit up. Just lie down, and we will bring 2 chairs and sit close to you." Then Shariputra asked, "Dear friend, how do you feel in your body? Do you feel pain? If so, is it increasing or is it decreasing?" Anathapindika answered, "Dear friend, it does not seem that the pain in my body is decreasing. It seems it is increasing all the time." Shariputra then said, "In that case, I suggest we practice a guided meditation on the 3 jewels." He began to offer a meditation on the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, with the support of the Venerable Ananda sitting beside him. Shariputra was considered to be one of the most brilliant monastic disciples of the Buddha. He was like the right arm of the Buddha. He was the elder brother to thousands of monks and nuns. He knew that Anathapindika had gotten a great deal of pleasure over the years serving the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. He also knew that for Anathapindika this meditation would water seeds of happiness in him at that difficult moment. He shared with Anathapindika the practice of recollecting the wonderful nature of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. In just 5 or 6 minutes, the pain that Anathapindika felt throughout his body lessened, as the seeds of happiness in him were watered. His balance was restored. Anathapindika smiled. Watering the seeds of happiness is a very important practice for the sick or dying. All of us have seeds of happiness inside us, and in difficult moments when we are sick or when we are dying, there should be a friend sitting with us to help us touch the seeds of happiness within. Otherwise, seeds of fear, of regret, or of despair can easily overwhelm us. When Anathapindika was able to smile, Shariputra knew that the balance between the joy and pain in him had been restored. He invited Anathapindika to continue the guided meditation. He said, "Dear friend, please practice together with Ananda and myself as follows. Breathing in, I see that this body is not me. Breathing out, I am not caught in this body. I am life without limit. I have never been born, and I will never die." When you are about to die, you may not be very aware of your body. You may experience some numbness, and yet you are caught in the idea that this body is you. You are caught in the notion that the disintegration of this body is your own disintegration. That is why you are fearful. You are afraid you are becoming nothing. The disintegration of his body cannot affect the dying person's true nature. You have to explain to him that he is life without limit. This body is just a manifestation, like a cloud. When a cloud is no longer a cloud, it is not lost. It has not become nothing, it has transformed. It has become rain. Therefore, we should not identify ourselves with our body. This body is not me. I am not caught in this body. I am life without limit. In fact, we have to begin this practice with our eyes, nose, ears, tongue, body, and mind. These eyes are not me. I am not caught in these eyes. I am life without boundaries. These ears are not me. I am not caught in these ears. I am life without limit. This nose is not me. I am not caught in this nose, and I am life without boundaries. This practice helps us not to identify ourselves with our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. We explore each sense consciousness and each sense organ so that we can see that we are not them. We are much more than the manifestation of our sense organs. The cessation of the manifestations does not affect us. Then we look at and see what else we might think is our identity. Beyond the body and the senses are the 5 aggregates of form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. We have to look deeply at each one and say, these things are not me. Perceptions, feelings, ideas come and go. They cannot be me. Consciousness, just like perceptions, feelings, and mental formations, is just a manifestation. When conditions are sufficient, these manifestations are present. When conditions are no longer sufficient, these manifestations are no longer